Alex Sotiropoulos here with Maroons men's basketball coach Mike McGrath. Coach McGrath, two big games this past week, and after coming back two big wins, unfortunately two losses. What do you first think that Emory did differently at Emory than they did when they played the Maroons here?
My sense is they, for the most part, they did what they do, they just did it better. There were a couple small tactical changes that they made that I thought were good moves, but for the most part I thought they just had a lot of energy. I thought they were very, very active, very, very aggressive, and, you know, their coach commented to me, I think if you watch the way that their team played here versus there, they were a step quicker. And, you know, part of that's coming off two losses, and they're kind of fighting for their lives, and, you know, two tough losses, especially the one here. And part of that's, you know, playing at home and having a little energy on a Friday night.
What was your reaction to the game and the team's reaction? Were you, I don't want to say were you expecting it, because you always want to win, but...
Well, no, I thought Emory would play better. I thought they're very, very energy-based in their approach to basketball in a very positive way, in a very good way. And I thought that they would be at a high energy level coming out of their game here. And being at home. Coming out of our two games at home against Emory and Rochester, the message to the team is, you know, obviously we had a pretty slim margin for error on Friday night against Emory to get that win. Well, when you go on the road, that margin for error decreases. And we had to kind of tighten up our ship a little bit. I wasn't too worried about what they did. I thought they would play better, but I wasn't too worried about what they were going to do. And I just don't think we... You know, for 40 minutes, I thought for periods we were very, very sharp, but for 40 minutes I don't think we were sharp enough to overcome that difference.
Now, on Sunday's game at Rochester, there was a double-digit deficit that the Maroons had at halftime. Then coming out of the half, Michael Starsik hit some big three-pointers, cut the deficit down. You know, Michael is not really known as a big shooter because he's a playmaker as a point guard. What can you tell him about his shooting abilities and his overall playing?
Well, it's funny, other than a stretch there where, boy, he just couldn't buy one, when Michael's shooting the ball from three, he's a really good shooter. Now, is that his primary role for us? No, you're right there. But he is a very, very, very good shooter. And I thought he just had a tough stretch. It got in his head a little bit, and he just kind of was struggling. And I think how well he shot looked drastically different because he was struggling for a little bit before that, more so than how well he shoots it. You know, when teams focus on Matt the way that they have and the way that they're going to, it's going to open up things for us at other positions, and Michael's is one of those. And, you know, I think he came out and got some good looks because of how they were playing us, and he knocked them down. And, you know, we've got to do that as a team.
With about 6 seconds left and the Maroons down by 2, Tom Williams gets the ball. He has an open three and it looks good, and you even told me it looked good. What can you tell me about that?
Well,
it didn't go in.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like, you know, we came down in transition and didn't call a set play, just had kind of a concept that I wanted to come down. I had talked to Michael about it. And, you know, they screwed up a switch and left Tom open, and, you know, that's a shot Tom's hit before. I remember Case here last year, he knocked that in, and boy, he had a great look at it, and I wasn't right behind it, but I thought, boy, Tom's going to make that one. He missed some earlier that were good looks, and boy, it really would have been fun had he knocked that in. Tom's got a lot of family in the Rochester area. His grandmother, unfortunately, is very, very sick, and a lot of his family was in town visiting her and for the game, and boy, when he let go, I go, this would be really great for Tom if that goes in, and it just didn't. So, but I thought overall, in terms of tightening our ship and accounting for slippage home and road, and I thought we did a lot of great things. That's one. You know, you walk out of that, you're a possession away from winning it, and we had a lot of possessions we could have won it. When a lot of things didn't go our way, we didn't shoot well. You know, we got outshot from the free throw line, but we scrapped and we battled. The halftime lead wasn't indicative of the way the game had gone. The second half was more indicative of that. We just fell a little bit short. And, you know, as you look at the big picture with 5 games to go, We have one at home where we're relatively in control and we let slip away, and that one we let slip away, and you find a way to win those couple, which is what this team needed to do. We're in a totally different boat if we do that in those games right now.
And finally, the last thing about Rochester, that game, with about 2.5 seconds left, there was another inbounds play. It would have been full court once again, 2 points down, kind of like Emory, except different that there were 6 seconds then, 2.5 here. What was the inbounds play designed to do? And, of course, Matt Johnson got the ball at about half court. Unfortunately, didn't make that.
Well, he got it up to half court. It was different. The shot that Matt took against Emory, while deep, was a relatively, form shot. It was consistent with the way he normally shoots it for the most part. He had to push it a little bit. The half court shot at Emory or at Rochester was kind of a two-hand running half court thing, and it wasn't near as good a look. They only had 3 fouls on him at the time, so I knew that they had the chance to take one, and we were trying to get some things deep, and they took it away. And I probably should have used another timeout to maybe give us another look, but I didn't want to waste both of them, because it was our last one. So, not the best look, but not a bad one, and we just weren't lucky 2 weeks in a row.
Now, going into Friday, playing Carnegie at home here at the Ratner Center, you beat Carnegie 100-55, I believe it was, the last time you met them. It was the first 100-point game since 2007. I know you had told me then that Carnegie just wasn't shooting well, and although they're towards the bottom, I think second to last in the UAA, they're still showing some good performances. What can you tell me about that game?
If you look at all the scores that have taken place over the entire year in the UAA, there's only one score that sticks out like a sore thumb that makes no sense, and that's our score at Carnegie Mellon. We played well. I didn't think they had one of their better days. Who knows why that happened or what the rationale was for that. There may not be one. It might have just been one of those days. But as you look at that, and then you look at Carnegie Mellon's other scores, we're the only one that stands out. They've been very, very competitive and they've got 2 good wins. They win at NYU, they win at Case Western, and they go to Rochester and go to overtime. They just lost. They had a game that could easily won that Rochester game, and just lost a game they could easily won against Brandeis in overtime. At home, they have a last-second shot that would have beaten WashU. Clearly our score makes no sense. Now the hard part is making sure our guys know that score doesn't make any sense, and getting their heads in a place where they're ready to compete the way we need to get a win.
Now Sunday, it's Case Western. Case is the bottom of the UAA, but once again, what can you tell me about them, and not to just look past them?
They're the biggest team in our league. The size they bring to the table is very formidable. They have a good skill level. I like their talent level. I think they're a hard team to guard. Very much so. They do really push in some binds offensively. And I think it's unfair to look at them and say, here's a last place team in the UAA, any more than I don't think people should look at us and say, here's a team that's tied for 5th in the UAA. We'll beat anybody, and we can play with anybody, and Case can too. And where they are in the league isn't indicative of how much of a challenge they can bring to the table.
Now, with 5 games left in the UAA season and the Maroons' 3-game deficit for first place, what can you tell me about the UAA and still your hopes for winning it?
Really anything can happen. Our hopes is we win a couple at home this weekend starting on Friday. We get that win, see what happens in the other 4 games, go to Sunday, get that win, see what happens in the other 4 games, and then we can see what our chances are on Monday.
All right, well, there you have it. Coach McGrath's take on last week's games and the hopefulness of the Maroons winning the UAA. Still in the boat, still in the run for it. Maroons open up against Carnegie Mellon, 8 p.m. Ratner Center on Friday.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Coach.